Hello, my name is Dr. John Sapola. I teach clarinet and saxophone at Western Kentucky University. This is the KMEA All State Solo for bass clarinet. There's a few things to talk about. Let's first talk about the bass clarinet itself. Number one, I use a number 3 reed on a mouthpiece that it's actually a custom mouthpiece made by Bill Street in Maine, but a similar type of a mouthpiece would be a Selmer C-Star or a Van Doren B45. Those are very standard mouthpieces. With a 2.5 or a 3 reed, I would say would probably be good strength. I don't usually like to go much harder than a 3. I use a 3, like I said, but for some of you, depending on the mouthpiece that you have with your school instrument, you may end up playing a 2.5 reed as well. Make sure that you have some new reeds, because reeds really do have a very, very big effect on the bass clarinet. When you take your reed, when you're done with your practice session, take your reed off, dry it off. Sometimes we even run it under some water and wipe it clean, and put it in a reed case, and that's good reed care for your reed, and it'll last longer probably than your B-flat clarinet reed. Always use your mouthpiece cap as well. The instrument sometimes will tend to go out of adjustment a little bit, so what you'll want to do is make sure if your instrument is not responding, especially in the upper register, bring it to a qualified repair person to have it looked at. The bass clarinet can be funny depending on your height and the particular instrument you're playing. Sometimes they have a peg on the bottom to adjust. If you have it all the way down sitting at the bottom of the bell onto the floor and you still can't reach up to the instrument, then sometimes a good technique is to sit on some books. And so you may want to, for your audition, be prepared for that. You may even want to bring a book or two with you that you're used to sitting on that's comfortable, or some type of a cushion to bring in the room with you and sit on in case the chair is not to your liking, the height. That can be a big deal actually, because then that will change the angle of the instrument coming into your mouth if the chair is too, if you're having to reach up to it. The angle of the instrument should be a little bit angled down, and this particular instrument has a neck that does this automatically. If your neck is coming more straight out, that's more kind of like a saxophone, then you're going to want to put the bass clarinet under your legs a little bit more like this, so that you get a little bit more of a pronounced angle, which will have a positive effect on the sound and let that sound really open up. Be sure in this particular piece to take the breaths that they mark. If you don't, you're going to get stuck a little bit, particularly around 15. You may not make it to that half note F right after 15 and measure 16. Be sure to be very, very careful about all your articulations. If you don't abide by the articulations on the page, then you're not playing what the composer intended. And so a good way to do that is to practice very, very slowly, so that you get all the correct articulations. They do change throughout. When you articulate, make sure you take a deep breath from down below, and then after you take your breath, expel your air into the instrument. I form an embouchure on the bass clarinet by saying the letter V. Kind of like a clarinet embouchure, but not nearly as firm in the chin area. The corners have to be a little bit firm, but also loose enough. You're going to have a slight amount of sort of chewing motion, not chewing to the effect of biting into the reed, but you're going to have some flexibility depending on which register you're in. Again, it's very, very, very subtle. I don't want to leave this video saying that you should be moving your jaw a lot. You shouldn't be, but you will have some movement. You may want to articulate the first couple of measures and other measures too that have articulated notes a little bit shorter than you think they have to be, than they should sound, because that probably will sound just right when it gets out to the judge sitting about 10 feet away from you. Otherwise, things sound kind of connected. I would practice some slow scales. This particular piece is in the key of F major, and so you might try to practice some scales up to C, D, or E, or possibly F if your horn plays it that high. Very slow half notes. And when you get to your C, hold it out for a while so you really get the sensation and feeling in your mouth of how to voice these notes. Voicing on the bass clarinet means how your position is of your tongue in your mouth and the feeling in your mouth for that particular note. You'll sort of memorize that. Be sure that in measures 16 and 17 in the cantabile section, you use, especially there, use your dynamics because that's your chance to really be expressive. And the last note of the piece, I would hold it out and let it taper off. That way it sounds really like you've done a good job at your dynamics. Only play this piece as fast as you can play it. So if you can't play the entire piece technically at a speed that you would like, pull it back to the tempo that's comfortable to you. As long as it's clean and musical and you're using your dynamics, you should get a good rating. And that's the goal, is to be as musical and as rhythmically solid as possible. Good luck to you all. Thank you very much.